Hey, this is Kent over at Zamplo, and in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys some updates that we've made to the shapes and polygon feature within Zamplo. It's a heavily used feature, so a lot of you might have already been in there pulling a list and noticed some slight changes, but I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the why, some of the other things that it's going to allow you to do that you weren't able to before, and basically just show you what we've got. So if you're new to Zamplo, you're probably like, shapes, polygons, what's that? Well, when it comes to pulling data in Zamplo, that's a way to get really targeted on a specific geographic area that you wanted to focus on. And the reason why you might do that is, well, there's a lot, but we're going to kind of focus on the quick three reasons. So when pulling data, you're going to be building a query in Zamplo. That's the way that it's done, is that you're going to be building a query, which is basically setting the filters of what you're looking for or what's in your buy box. And so if I pull up one of these saved queries, which is something that you can do, and I recommend that you do if you're going to be using the shapes, you pull up these saved queries and you have all of these things that are kind of like the standardized thing in your buy box. So, the state and county, acreage size, we're looking for empty lots only, kind of the things you would expect. So a really big county like Kern County, even after you having all these filters, sometimes you're still left with a lot of parcels, 34,000. Some people, that might be fine. Maybe you're a high volume, operation and you're sending out that much mail a month. But for many of us, it's not just that you don't have that many records for you included in your plan. It's that you don't want to send out that much mail and spend that much. And the shape tool is going to allow you to be a lot more controlled in terms of the volume that you want to pull. And also it's going to make it a lot easier in terms of answering the question of what something is worth. Because if you're trying to answer the question of what a 1 acre parcel is worth in Kern County within 34,606 parcels, that's going to be really hard because it's such a big county. There's going to be different pockets where some of the county is on, paved roads with, amenities and houses nearby and utilities. Others are on dirt road with none of those things. And then there's going to be some, densely wooded areas. And all these different characteristics are going to affect the value of a 1 acre parcel. So the polygon is a way to really zero in on where you want to be in the first place, and it's going to make it easier when you're pricing things. And it's also going to make it really easy to stay organized and keep track of where you've targeted or what campaigns you've ran previously. So now that we have that out of the way, over to the shapes and the enhancements. So if we go to the map, as we have always done, you're able to come into here and view shapes or go to the shape section and load shapes. And so loading shapes is a way to bring those up. So again, you can see where you've already mailed or maybe ran an SMS campaign to previously, and then use that as a reference and make sure that you're not mailing that same kind of like parcel, unless of course you want to. So one of the updates is you can now group your shapes together, making it really easy when you're pulling things up and you're working in one county. So if I'm working in Kern in this Tehachapi area, if I load that up, it brings me right there and it has all three of those shapes loaded at once. So that's great. Now I have a reference of where I've mailed so far here. And if I want to pick another area, maybe I'll do this area that looks to be a little bit more kind of like in the hill and mountainy areas. And so I'm going to go in and I'll change my color. Maybe we'll do purple this time. And I'm going to draw a shape of where I want to mail. So I got this new shape. Now the other thing that you'll notice too, we've also added some measuring tools with these shapes. So a lot of ways you can use it is measuring, the road frontage on something or the depth of something. Also, if you wanted to, kind of visualize a split of a parcel that you might subdivide and actually see measurements and an acreage calculation, you can, because not only do you get the measurements on the sides, but you also get a acreage calculation when you draw a shape. So of course, we're not going to draw this shape to subdivide it here, but in another one you might draw a bunch of smaller shapes to kind of get an idea of what you would subdivide. So for here in particular, we have that shape saved, and when that shape is highlighted, that's the one that we are going to export data for. So you can leave these other shapes up on your map, which is something I used to previously say is once you kind of have your new shape drawn, you would delete it. Now you don't have to. You can leave those up, and it's just whatever shape is highlighted with this blue. And you could do multiple shapes at once if you wanted to as well, by just kind of selecting all of those. But in this case, I'm just going to do our new shape right here. And so if I go to actions, that's where the export parcels button is now. And whenever I select that, I'm going to get a count of how many parcels are within that shape. And then the beauty of having that saved query is it kind of acts as an easy button or a template where I can just go and select it, and then it runs it through all those filters, and it tells me that, of those roughly 1,200 parcels, 324 fit what I'm looking for. So I'm controlling my volume. I can come into here. If I wanted to make it a little bit bigger, I could. But what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and move forward with it. I would hit continue. Takes me back to this page where everything is already filled out with the addition of the GeoJSON. That's the shape itself. And then whenever I export the parcels, I get to the last page where I get to decide how I want to export that data. So one of the most common things that came up with shapes or things that I heard about is people loved it. They loved the ability to save those shapes so they could load them at a later date. But I used to get asked all the time, Kent, I forgot to save the shape. Is there any way I can go back and pull that back up so I can save it and basically keep track of it? And until recently, the answer was no, but we heard that feedback. We heard that request. So now I purposefully did not save that shape to show that you can go back and I can quickly jump to that shape, and it's going to remain there. Anything that you haven't saved will remain here for as long until you come in and remove it or delete it. Now, of course, if you didn't follow through with the export, you probably do want to delete it. But if you did, then you want to come in here and say, okay, yeah, I need to save that. I'm going to call this Kern January 22nd, 2026. We also have the ability to put in some notes now. So be creative with whatever you want to do with the notes section, but it could be a way to kind of keep track of how well a certain campaign performed for you, or, certain things that you really want to note that are important in there with that. So I'm just going to put in a quick example, but now that we press save, now it is saved. And if I click on this, I can see the notes in that area as well. So if you are wanting to remove this, and maybe you're going to go to a completely different area, so let's go to, I don't know, let's go to Gaston County. So we have this shape right here. Maybe we are going to do another shape right over next to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and change the color. And, just kind of really quickly, here's the other shape that I'm doing. So once that's done, again, I'll save it. I'll say Gaston January 22nd, 2026. Again, put in notes. You can name these whatever you want. But now if you want to group this together, you just select both of them, hit actions, and hit group. And then you can call it Gaston campaign, whatever it is that makes sense to you. So quick instructions on just like how to save that. You can also come in and ungroup these if you ever need to. And then the other thing to note is there's some creative ways we've already seen that these enhanced shapes have been being used beyond just for, the campaigns that you want to run a mailer on or an SMS campaign on. So what you can also do is you can load shapes and save purchases that you've made, and then maybe make a purchases group, almost like a purchases folder that you can load up. And then you have a list of all the different purchases that you've done. So really quickly, you can click one of these, hit go to, and it quickly jumps into there. You can kind of keep notes about that. Or you might also want to make a list of things that you're doing due diligence on and kind of keep track of those as well. Now, we are planning on adding the ability to pin and save shapes, or parcels, I should say, rather than having to create a shape. This is just kind of in the interim, quick, easy way or a little workaround that we've seen that could be beneficial. But yeah, more enhancements are coming with the map and shapes in general. We think that this is going to just make it more intuitive and user-friendly. So I hope you all enjoy the enhancements that we've made. As always, if you feel like you could use a little bit more of assistance, or if you have questions on this, we encourage you to reach out. We're here to help. But other than that, Have yourself a great day.